Game Show is 3 dimensions away from Spider-Man PS4 having another spinoff, Spider-Man Mary Jane. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Spider-Man Miles Morales, released for the PS4 and PS5 in 2020. Spider-Man Miles Morales is a spin-off game that's a spin-off from the Insomniac Spider-Man PS4 game released in 2018. This time around, the game follows Miles Morales as you navigate and play as him instead of playing as Peter Parker. This is the first Spider-Man game where you really, maybe unless you count like Edge of Time or Spider-Man, if you count like one of those like other Treyarch games, maybe then you got to play as Miles Morales. But really, this is the only game really that you get to actually play as Miles Morales in an open world Spider-Man game. And I think that's so great. I mean, obviously in past games, like in the Amazing Spider-Man games, you could award Miles a suit, but you never really got to play as Miles Morales. And this is so fun because I really love Into the Spider-Verse. I love Across the Spider-Verse. This game, I was really looking forward to it. I waited at GameStop to get it when it came out for the PS4. I was literally in line, everybody was paying for their versions of it. I got my version, left, went home, put it in my PS4, downloaded it, played that game for hours. It took me a week to beat the game, and because it was really hard. It wasn't really hard. It was just really immersive to walk around looking at these cities and the textures. It's like, I've heard online people say, look, there's my neighborhood. There's this. And I always say attention to detail is something I always love. And I do like that they brought the same actors back to do the same voices again for the first game. That always made me, attention to detail is always something. And I do like that they bring his dad back in flashbacks, Jefferson Davis, because obviously if you played Spider-Man PS4, his dad passes away in that game. So, and they also have the Prowler, who is his uncle in the game, where I really like his uncle, the Prowler. I did not like what they did with him in Into the Spider-Verse, but when I saw this game actually I felt like had a better version of the Prowler. Like, there's a lot of things I like about this game. I love the story. I think it has a great story, it sets around a Christmas setting, and, and it has Miles, and he has his best friend, who he, long-lost best friend, who basically were friends for years, and then she went off and did her own thing, and then she come back, and then spoilers, by the way, if you haven't played this game, she's like the main villain of the game, the Tinkerer. And so I like that aspect of it, like it's friend versus friend. I like that aspect, and then like it's really sad at the end how she sacrifices herself to save her best friend, knowing that they still have friendship there. It almost reminds me of Spider-Man 3 in a way, but I would say I will say I think Spider-Man 3 kind of did it better, but I do think this one was for what they did in this much of a time of the game length, I think this was pretty fun. I thought this I would have done a little differently though, because I wanted to see her more as a villain, but instead I feel like she was more of like an anti-hero in a way. But I did think she did what she did good. The actress who was also in Scream 5 and Scream 6, I forget her name, but she is Randy's niece. She was in Scream 5 and Scream 6. She's a great actress. She plays the villain in the game, and I think she's a great performance in this game. Also, I do think that the photorealistic of this game, like where you say they went through Harlem and just matched it. It was so unique how they matched everything. Like there's even like, it looks so real, the graphics and everything. Like we're during the Christmas tree, I'm looking at the Christmas tree and everything, and I'm like, wow, inside the game and like his house is just so great. I'm like, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. I just love how that, like the photorealism, like you could walk around and look at things and everything just matches that, the first game was not really photorealistic, like they almost looked like they went through Google Maps and took things and put them there, but it looks really good. Well, this game looks more photorealistic, where it's like, okay, this matches this matches this, and I can't wait to see what they do with Spider-Man for the P2 for the PS5. I cannot wait to see what they do with that. I hope it's even better. They just keep adding attention to detail. Mwah, chef's kiss. And I think the setting, and also the setting feels, it does feel like a spin-off more than a sequel, because it is really a spin-off to the game. Like, I like that it doesn't just feel like this is just Spider-Man PS4. I know they charge less for the game because it's not a big AAA game like Spider-Man PS4 is. This game is more or less like a spin-off game, and I think it is worth the full price admission, because this game is fun. Like, even though I understand that's the same map, which I'm sure they just took the exact same map, and then they just photo scanned it, made it look more real, which I will say, I think the attention to detail, you could tell they actually did. They didn't just photo scan it. They actually, I think, added more stuff. Like for instance, there are buildings in the game that have been upgraded in the game, like Fisk Tower. There's construction sites in the first game that are upgraded into actual buildings in that game, which is awesome. And then there's like an aquarium that was built, that wasn't there in Spider-Man PS4 that's there now. Even though it's supposed to acknowledge that game happened before Spider-Man PS4, even though it wasn't there. So, I mean, there's some convoluted shit right there. And also, I like that there are nods to Into the Spider-Verse, where, like, you have, like, the comic, like, Vibe the Verse, where you can it'll drop the frame rate, not the frame rate, but, like, the rate, where he's running and stuff, it'll slow down to match this Into the Spider-Verse moves. And there's even when someone punches you, it'll even like make bam, pow, boom, just like Into the Spider-Verse. And the costume from Into the Spider-Verse is in the game as well. So it's really fun. It's really like a love letter to that movie as well. And I will say, I even like that, the Prowler's in the game, and I think they give the Prowler so much more to do in this than they did in the movie, because I understand it was more than just the Prowler. The Prowler in this, his side mission is great, and I'll really recommend it strongly. And also, I love, like, the Christmas setting and everything. And so around Christmas time for the last 2 years, I'll pop it in and I'll like put it at nighttime and make it really snowy, because you could change the snow to light snow, no snow, and I make it really snowy, and I'll walk around looking at Times Square and see the snow drop and the photo mode. Oh my God, it's so great. That is something that's just so worth it. Now, there's things I don't like about this game. I do not like that they changed Peter's face to make him look younger. Like in PS4, he looks like he's older than Miles. In this one, he looks like he's the same age as Miles. And I understand this was done prior with Spider-Man, the PS5 remaster for the PS4. I understand that was a change there, but I still think it's stupid. And I just think it doesn't work. And I said, oh, well, we were trying to make it upgrade the visual, and it just didn't look good. The old version didn't look good. Well, you know what? This one doesn't look good either. This one makes him look like a young kid. And I just wish that one thing kind of irked me. I'm looking like, there's no way he's older than Miles. I think, honestly, Miles is older than him. And also there's no enterable buildings in this game, like, at all. Even Miles' apartment, like, unless you're playing in the story mode version, Miles' apartment's not enterable at all in the game. Like, literally, there's nothing else enterable in the buildings. Like, at least in the first game, you had like 2 buildings that were enterable, like Feast and Doc Ock's lab. There's nothing enterable in this game at all. And it kind of sucks, because I'm like, enterable buildings are fun. Go in and just look at all the Easter eggs and nods, and that kind of bummed me out. I was like, come on, really. And also, it is the same map as well. Like, it's just the only difference is they added, like, looks like they went to Harlem and they added some more textured buildings and made it faux realistic. But it still looks the same. As they added a couple of buildings and upgraded some things. But really, it's the same exact map. So there's like, I wish they kind of would have added Queens, or I wish they would have added Brooklyn to the game. But instead, I understand it's a smaller end of the game, but now we're getting that with Spider-Man PS5 Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. So I'm looking forward to that. And I also didn't think I wish they would have did more with the Tinker, but I understand. It felt like there was a lot of things going on between the Roxxon Corporation, and then you had Prowler, and then you had, like the Rhino side mission, and you have all these things like, the Vandals, and the Tinker takes up some things, but it feels like also Fisk is a big part of the game, and it just feels like that takes up a lot of the Tinker space, to where you're like, oh yeah, we're going back to the Tinker again, okay. Or, oh, we're at the Prowler, so we're not even worried about that. I wish they would just made the Prowler the main villain, and Tinker would have just been like a small side villain, because sometimes it does feel like that. Like, the Tinker feels more of like a side villain rather than the main villain, and that kind of bummed me out, because I'm like, I like their dynamic, and I wish they would have did more of that. But other than that, I think the game is really fun. I strongly recommend if you haven't played it yet, especially if you really, I've been replaying it, I might play it again, who knows, because I really want to play, because Spider-Man PS5 is right around 2 for the PS5 is right around the corner, and I just might want to refresh, play Spider-Man 2 again. Just played it, so I might play this game once again. I did play it, just got done beating it, but I might play it once more. If I had to give this game a grade, I would give it a solid 9.8 out of 10. Thank you so much.